This is Dave Pellegrinelli at TitleSearch.com. A couple important messages about hidden risks on selecting foreclosure properties for our investor clients and our clients of our friends at foreclosure.com. When selecting or filtering a list of properties, there's two things to look at that may not be readily apparent on a property. One is, when looking at the instrument that was foreclosed, ensuring that that was actually the first mortgage on a property. We had a case back a year or so ago, a couple years ago now, where a customer had called us up to run a title search on a property that they had just purchased at a foreclosure auction in California. It was a property they had figured was worth somewhere close to $1 million, and they had purchased it for just shy of $300,000 at the auction. They'd already paid a $20,000 good faith deposit, and they wanted to run a title search to make sure there was no liens. Well, the good news was there were no liens. The bad news was the mortgage that was actually foreclosed was a second mortgage. There was a first mortgage in front of that that had priority for $700,000. So if they took that $700,000, which was still on the property, and added the close to $300,000, they would be into the property for close to $1 million, which is, maybe not even what the property was worth. So it's important to make sure that that mortgage is a first mortgage. It's surprising how many times the mortgage that's being foreclosed is a second mortgage. It's not very common because most second mortgage holders don't want to go through the time and expense of foreclosure if they're, in a second position. However, some lenders will do this to try to force the hand of the borrower or to try to negotiate some other arrangement with the borrower. So be sure your mortgage is the first mortgage. The other thing that's happened is if the lender is the same on the first and the second, there have been instances where the lender accidentally forecloses the second rather than the first. And that may not show up until after the auction and after somebody purchases that foreclosure, so keep that in mind. The second hidden risk on a foreclosure property is looking very closely at the budget situation for both the homeowners association and the municipality where the property is located. If the homeowners association for a condominium or for a subdivision has a budget which is insufficient to cover the operating cost or the maintenance, replacing roads, roofs, that kind of thing, there may be a special assessment that's coming or that may have to come. You can usually inspect the budget of that homeowners association in advance of purchasing or bidding on a property. A bigger issue, although it may not be as acute, is the budget for the municipality. Is the county or city where the property is located, is their budget sound? Is it healthy? If not, you may find, and this is something that's becoming more common, that the services in that area are going to be cut. If the police or fire coverage is going to be cut, if they're going to close a fire station nearby, that may affect your insurance rates in the future. If they're going to cut funding for the education system, and it's a great school in that area, and that's one of the things that brings up the value. If they're going to cut the budget for the education system, fire a bunch of teachers, that school system and that school district may not be as desirable. So you may find that if services are cut, that's going to affect marketability. On the other hand, it may result in the tax rate going up or the assessment going up. That may affect the value of the property as well. So double check these couple items. Make sure that your mortgage is a first mortgage. It usually is, but in the rare instance it's not, it's going to be a big deal. Double check to make sure that the budget for the homeowner association and also for the municipality are both relatively sound. In this economy, there's a lot of cities and counties that are struggling, but there's a difference between struggling and being in critical condition. There's millions of foreclosure properties out there. Why pick one that has some degree of risk associated with it? Pick one where the first mortgage is what's being foreclosed, and number two, that the budget and the health of the finances of the municipality or homeowner association are relatively good.